We be live, I think.
Hello.
Hello. Let us know in the live chat if you have our idea.
Please do.
We have already, we do have a lot of Patreon questions already.
Yes. They're not
Yeah.
extremely extensive ones, so I don't think um, they should take too long. Which is a reminder to everyone watching live that if you are a patron and you can become a patron to support our work, if you enjoy it, you can support us for as little as $1 a month. And every week before the Q&As that we do, obviously every week, we post this ahead of time so you can ask your questions and your questions get prioritized. And you can also ask your questions if you're not able to attend these live. Um, and it's a great way to support what we do. There's a lot of people who enjoy us for free, and this helps a lot. And you get the special treatment. Who doesn't like that? um, should we talk about the fundraiser we're doing now or maybe a little further into the show?
Oh yeah, maybe later further into this.
Okay.
No, no, let's do it actually now. Actually, let's do it now. I just
Okay.
think there would be more people. No, actually, there will be more people
Yeah, we'll
later, so
do it
let's
after
not
the
do it.
patron questions.
Yes, okay. All right, so we're
Uh,
gonna start with Patreon questions again, and then we're gonna go to the live chat questions. So if you have any questions, post them in the live chat, and after we answer the Patreon questions, we're gonna go to the live chat questions. Okay, cool.
and I do see some good live chat questions today.
Mhm.
Um, Music Guy is asking, what are your thoughts on Iran's new Iron Dome? Are people in Iran talking about it? Some people think it's a waste of money. Well, I will toss this one over to our local Iranian analytical expert
Nah.
for his analysis.
Mm. Well, okay, so here, well, it's actually hard to analyze this because every report for not, I mean, so far, unless there's an update that I haven't seen, the report we're getting on this Iran's Iron Dome. By the way, for people who don't know why it's been called, what's an Iron Dome, this is in reference to Israel's Iron Dome, which is a very technological marvel that is, that is just amazing. It seems like a gift from the gods above as a way to protect the civilians. Like the way it works is just remarkable. It just seems like it shouldn't be possible. Um, it's Israeli defense system where missiles that are coming into Israel, they just get taken out by missiles that, how like in like movies, like it's ridiculous, like childish cartoonish movies where somebody shoots a bullet at you and somebody else defends themselves by shooting their own gun and the bullet hits the bullet in midair, and just that's how you think, you see how ridiculous that seems. That's what they have managed to accomplish. Okay, there's missiles that are hitting other missiles midair at such high success rate, and you think like, how is this shouldn't be possible. This seems like it should be a technology where it shouldn't be happening in our lifetime, but here it is. Okay, and yeah, and it's really, it's completely, it's a form of military expenditure where you have to defend because it's basically saving civilians on both sides, actually, right? It's saving Israeli civilians, and it's also saving Palestinian civilians by the fact that it makes it, if more Israeli civilians had died, it would have opened the door to a much heavier counter attack by Israelis, and more Palestinians would have died. So, in that sense, it's also saving Palestinians. So, Iran is now says that it has an Iron Dome. The reason why it's hard to comment on that is because it has been reported to be very successful in the tests, but by themselves, right? So I don't know. Like I don't know what happened. Like so, these people are saying like we tested it, we had carried out some tests, and it was fantastic. Like I don't know, well, maybe I don't know, but it seems like they want to portray and when it comes to themselves as when it comes to the military technology, they wanted to act like they're at the same level as Israel, which is laughable and ridiculous if that's what they're trying to if that's what they're trying to suggest. Um, I'm not saying what they have is useless, but obviously, I think it's obvious that whatever they're having and they're calling it Iron Dome is not going to be able to hold a candle to the Iron Dome that Israel has, right? Apparently, it was made after a South African model. I'm not sure if that's correct. But also, another thing you can say about it is that it's, again, these are just guesses. It could be also in response to Israel announcing $1 billion in funding for attacks on Iran. Did you hear about that, Sis? So Israel has decided to increase the budget on anti-Iran in Iran's within Iran border attacks. So in the recent budget,
Oh my
and
god.
and I think this is a response. Like damn, we need to like up the defense because guys, it's very interesting with Israel. You have to understand this is not just military. When Israel comes in, we're increasing the funding on attacks on Iran, and Iran comes in and says like we have our own Iron Dome now. This is not just one military response in response to another military response. Okay, just the announcement of this extra funding, it's also a propaganda war by Israel, and the announcement, like the announcements themselves, are part of the war. You know what I mean? On the marketing and the propaganda, on a like recruiting, on a like faith building. These are so there's Israel could actually do some. Israel is not just doing attacks on Iranian borders like it used to be. More secretive about these things. Now they're becoming more obvious and open and like, hey, we're gonna do this. We're coming at you, right? So there's a psychological warfare. Yeah.
After you assassinate a country's top nuclear scientist inside their own borders, like it's hard to be like behind the curtain about that kind of thing.
Right. And also Qasem is correct. It was not $1 billion. It was $1.5 billion.
Oh, excuse me.
No, that's a lot more. That's like
I know.
More. Yeah. So that's
damn.
Yes, okay. Yes. Anyways.
Okay.
Next patron question.
Next patron question is from Anne. Anne is asking, why do you think a number of people in the West see calling religion stupid as extreme and intolerant rather than plain honest?
Because they're stupid.
Easy. Well, I wasn't going to say that. I was going to say it's probably because they're religious themselves.
Wait, what? Why do you think a number of people in the West see calling religion stupid? I mean, okay, I was joking. Not really. Well, I mean, yes. Here's the thing. This question doesn't have an answer. Do you know why this question doesn't have an answer? Because I don't. I have to talk to that person. Like we can't come up with a general answer about a group of people. Okay, different people might have different reasons, right? For example, like Susanna said, if one of them is religious, they might be offended by such a word, or somebody might be an atheist. I think like the religions are bad, and but this is not strategic. It's not constructive. It might like alienate religious people, and it's not the most effective way of talking about these things. Okay, so it really depends. You can't we can't have an answer about an entire group of people that might have the same response. Each one of them might have a different reason for why they have that response. So for me to be able to answer that question, I need to talk to each individual that has that opinion and ask them about it. Go on.
I think if I had to generalize, it's because one, most people are religious. So they have been taught that this is something that is sacred in a way that cannot be touched, right? Because of reverence or etc. Or they are people who left religion and still have a lot of the values that were imbued in them through their cultural upbringing that says there are some things that are above scrutiny and above ridicule, whether or not I actually still believe in those things. Culturally, this is just what's been taught to me, and I've still carried it forward. I think that's fairly generalizable, given that the fact that the number of people who are raised completely without religion in the West, like, is a minority, generationally. So do you think that's like a fair assessment?
Yeah, you could, as long as we say like most people, I think, be skeptical about it. I think that's fine. I do want to say that I might even say calling religion is extreme in certain situations, right? Like I call religion stupid, okay, but there are certain contexts where it doesn't make sense for me to say religion is stupid. For example, let's say um, somebody like a Muslim woman comes to me like, "Hey, Armin, I'm a Muslim. I'm interested in your opinion and why you're against Islam. Can you tell me how you come up with this conclusion? I'm actually interested in hearing your opinion." And I go and say like, "Well, I think Islam is stupid. That's why." you know, So I think that in that situation, like, yeah, that's that is extreme. Like, like, okay, so why are you saying that in that context, right? Like, I do think like you should be able to say you, and it's good. It's a good thing. Not only you should be able to, but it's also strategic for us to say that religion is stupid. But it depends on the context. In certain contexts, it actually is extreme to say that, and it's not the most, and it's very intolerant, and it's not the best way at convincing somebody and or communicating with somebody, right? I would like to say religion is stupid if somebody is saying religion is not stupid. Then in that situation, I would say like, I would never respond. I would like to respond to that. I want to be like, actually, no, I believe it is stupid, right? But in a certain other context, it makes absolute no sense for me to say religion is stupid, even if it's true, right? I would like to respond in a different way. Does that make sense?
Totally.
Yeah. Also, Music Guy is reminding everybody to like the stream, so that's a very
Yay! Thank you.
like it right now. Yes, yes,
yes. We have another question from Anne. Patron question. Anne is saying, have you guys covered Buddhism as a religion or spoken to any ex-Buddhists? The answer is yes.
Yes and
to
no.
both.
Yes and no. Yes to both. When did we talk to an ex-Buddhist? I forgot.
So a few weeks ago on your personal channel, you talked to a top patron. Guys, if you're a top patron, you can have private calls with Armin.
No, he was an okay, fine, sure.
He's an ex-Buddhist. That's what he says in the video.
He's an ex-Buddhist Confucius. He's an ex-Buddhist Confucius Shintos. Right? I don't know. Maybe yes, you're right.
No,
right,
he wasn't. He never practiced Shinto. He was ethnically Chinese.
Oh, sorry. Ex-Taoist Confucianist Buddhist.
There we go. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I think maybe the way I think about a Buddhist, somebody that says I'm a Buddhist, is somebody that is just into Buddhism, not somebody that happens to practice the three major faiths.
This is Abrahamic thinking.
Okay.
Because for millions of people, these are not. They don't have to be distinct, and one does not invalidate the other.
Yeah, but they're not. Then okay, but the same. If you go, for example, in Japan and ask people, are they Shinto? Are they Shintoist or Shinto or whatever? They will say like no, even though they have Shinto, they do Shinto stuff. They don't consider this a religious identity. Do you know what I mean? So a lot of people take part in Buddhist culture and practices, but they don't Buddhism is not an identity. I think like when somebody used Buddhism, I'm a Buddhist as an identity, it's different from somebody that just goes to a Buddhist. I might be completely wrong about this. Okay, so the people who are Buddhists or are in, from China or Japan or Korea or whatever, let me know if this is your understanding, because my
I
understanding is that.
I think you are takfiring millions of practitioners.
Yes, I am. Well, this is based on what I've seen, and I could be completely wrong, and I am happy to be corrected by it. I think to be corrected in this, but I think like when somebody, especially in a Western country, when they come and says like I'm a Buddhist, that's different from somebody that takes part in all of the cultural norms in China or in Japan, which happens to be sometimes Buddhist, sometimes Confucianist, or sometimes Taoist or Shinto. Okay, that is not that is not somebody who, in my view, considers himself to have a Buddhist identity. Okay, and
I feel like that's
maybe
a Western idea, though.
okay, maybe. I think calling yourself a Buddhist might be a Western idea. For you
Exactly.
for No, so that's what I'm saying. So when you say a Buddhist, okay, ex-Buddhist, I think like being a Buddhist itself is more of an Abrahamic mindset where you build an identity around some traditions and cultural norms that you practice it. So for you to be an ex-Buddhist, you would have to first be a Buddhist, and for you to have been a Buddhist, you have to have an Abrahamic mindset over the identity, your cultural norms that you participate in, to define your identity. Okay, so yes, I am justifiably looking at this from an Abrahamic mindset, because the whole concept of ex-Buddhist is already Abrahamic mindset. For you to be an ex-Buddhist, it's kind of like an ex-Muslim or an ex-Christian. You know what I mean? That's already an Abrahamic mindset. So I'm responding with an Abrahamic mindset. Does that make sense?
Yes, I think we should break out of the Abrahamic mindset to be able to better answer this question personally,
You
which is
can't,
what I
because
was
you're
arguing.
talking about yes, but you can't break out of an Abrahamic mindset because you're talking about an ex-Buddhist, which is already being defined within an Abrahamic framework.
I see what you mean.
Yeah, yeah.
I just think that if we're thinking about it in such strict terms, there are going to be very few people who we can legitimately, through your like very like stratified thinking,
Yeah.
like call an ex-Buddhist. But there are millions of people who did used to do
Well,
something, participate in some ritual. Maybe they actually believed in it at one point. They no longer
yeah,
have.
that's my point. Is going to be challenged, and also when I say Abrahamic mindset, I'm mostly saying Christian and Islam, not Judaism, right? But yes, it's going to be challenging to call certain people ex-Buddhist. The same way it's already challenging to call people ex-Hindu or ex-Jew. Okay, we already have that
Mhm.
discussion, so we know. Yes, it's going to be confusing, and because it's not going to be as clear cut as like, hey, I believed in Jesus, now I don't. That makes me an ex-Christian. Oh, I believed in Muhammad and Allah, now I don't. That makes me an ex-Muslim. With other religions, it's harder to decide what makes you an ex that religion, right? So yeah, it would be challenging. I can see why.
Well, and to answer your question, we
Yeah.
actually have covered Buddhism, I think. So if you on our
Yes.
YouTube channel say like Atheist Reacts Buddhism, you'll probably find it. I know we've done Sikhism, Jainism as well. Um, so look at and Taoism. So we definitely did Buddhism. And yeah, if you're interested in a conversation with an ex-Buddhist, um, go check out Armin's personal channel where he did that
Yep.
patron
It's
call
on my
recently. It
personal
was
channel.
really, really good. I learned a
I
lot
might just ask
about
him. I
yeah.
might just ask him what he thinks about uh, Buddhism and as an identity being more of an Abrahamic mindset of looking at things. Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe I'll ask him. Yeah. All right.
I think that'd be
Cool.
good.
Cool.
He's
Cool.
a really smart guy.
Yeah, he
Um,
is. I was gonna make a
so
joke, but that would get us canceled. But no, sorry.
you can. It's okay because you're Asian. um. Last patron question, Music Guy is asking, what makes atheists side with far-right ideologies and ignore the very clear red flags? Interesting point or question. Um, there might be studies on this. Well, there are definitely studies that people who are more drawn to the right or conservatism have more of a fear basis. They're very reactive to fearful rhetoric, and we see this across like different types of people. So maybe atheists who have more of a bent towards the far right already had some sort of predisposition to this. If I'm going to speak more broadly, I think it's because while there are a lot of studies that um, people who've left religion or just non-religious people are more left-leaning, um, especially for people who've left religion, like you need to find a new way to structure your life. And I think the far-right ideology will market itself or purport to have the answers that people are looking for in how to have a good society. So they're saying, well, I don't think, God and God's rules will lead us towards having a good society, but I think, very strict traditionalism will help our societies because we'll have higher birth rates and women should get back in the kitchen because we need, kids and stuff like that. Like, I think, I'm speculating that it's just a bent towards wanting structure in one's life. And that's obviously a very structured, stratified way of living your life.
Yeah, you're saying, so you're thinking that these people who left religion, they're looking for some other form of structure. So they look into that. They look for structure and traditionalism, and these right-leaning groups might provide that traditionalism to them. That's very interesting. I also do want to remind people that atheist people are not special. Okay, so whatever makes other people fall for far right ideologies, I mean, actually, other than, I think what Susanna is saying is very interesting, and it might be true for atheists in a way that is not true for other people. Okay, but I also do want to highlight the fact that we shouldn't think of atheists as this special group of people who are just intelligent and shouldn't be falling for bad ideas. Okay, because getting the answer to one question correct doesn't make you so different from other people, and doesn't give you any form of immunity for falling for other bad ideas, right? So, you got the question of, is there evidence for the existence of God? No. Oh, congratulations, you got that answer right. That doesn't mean you're not gonna get, there's so many other stupid ideas out there, and you atheists could fall for them just like other people, right? So there's that. Oh, Pamela is saying, dude, I'm special. Okay, you are. Okay, you are special. Not most atheists are not special, but you're special. Okay. Anyways.
So guys, that was the end of our patron questions. If you want to be
Wait, there was one more.
No, there wasn't.
Indigenous communities.
Oh
by
shoot,
Anne?
you're right.
Yeah.
I missed it. Thank you, Armin.
You're welcome.
Okay. So Anne is asking, have either of you been able to talk to any atheists from indigenous communities around the world, like Inuit, Sami, First Nations, etc.? Not on any
No.
stream or publicly, but I have like in our own community, like on our Discord and stuff. So if you're interested in talking to people from that background, like I would suggest joining our Discord or our Facebook groups where there are a lot of people from different backgrounds. And especially like on our largest Facebook group, you could just like pose the question to the group, like, hey, is there anyone from this background? Like, I'm very interested. I have questions. But yeah, they're definitely a minority and not here heard from very much. Probably not helped by the fact that there are people on the left in America who genuinely believe that if you have criticism towards indigenous religion in any way, then you're just a straight up racist.
You go on.
I remember watching an episode of The Atheist Experience where some woman comes in to talk about indigenous religion, or she calls in, and Matt Dillahunty starts going through his normal, like, questioning, like street why can't I talk today? Epistemology stuff, like, well, how would we establish this claim, blah blah blah, and she starts to get really reactive, and by the end of the call she just calls him a racist and hangs up because he's like, what proof do we have that there is a great raven or whatever? So that kind of attitude doesn't help the situation at all. What were you gonna say, Armin?
I was just gonna say I remember watching a video by some indigenous person making fun of making their culture more very spiritual. Like he was like making, I don't, it was a comedian, like, Native American, guy. I think it was on TikTok. I don't know. I should go find those videos. They were so funny. Like, how a lot of people make their singing, their traditions seem very spiritual and special in some ways, and he was like making fun of that, and it was just so good. I haven't seen anybody make fun of that, and I was like actually kind of like shocked because that's like the most holiest thing in Canada. Right? Like people get in trouble in Canada for making fun of that more than any other thing, like Islam or LGBT. Those things are kind of taboo in Canada, but going after indigenous cultures and tradition, that is like, I was like, damn, like I have been Canadianized. If I like, because if
when you're like,
making
I'm
fun
gonna
of,
fight.
I was like, why am I being triggered by these jokes are very funny? Why am I being triggered? Like, I was like, oh my God, if somebody in my university saw this, it would be so triggered. Like, you could get fired. It's interesting that, anyways, so I was happy, by the way, to see that, because to me, coming from Canadian culture, that seemed to be the untouchable practices, certain ideas. So watching, it seemed like felt like this is the ex-Muslims of the native community, somebody from them just making fun of their own practices.
I mean, it makes sense, like why there's the sensitivity. I think like most of the time the sensitivity is warranted, given the fact that there are a plethora of peoples who have been the subject of cultural genocide for hundreds of years. So like, I get it. It's not like it's completely unwarranted, but of course there is some barrier to criticism.
Yeah, but it's always that what happens is people take that defense of a community all of it to the point where they're spiritualizing and celebrating everything, even things that are not worthy of celebrations, or like over hyping them putting it on a pedestal and making it seem like this is something so holy that you can't even make fun of, right? So when you take the defense of something that needs defending to that level, then somebody needs to come in and adjust it and take it down a notch, I think, right? Yeah. And we could say the same thing about the Dave Chappelle show, by the way, when it comes to the whole trans.
Gonna get yourself in some hot water.
When you take the defense of something to the point where that you find that offensive, right? Yeah. You know that you have like if you tell people that you have over adjusted, it doesn't mean that those group of people don't need and defending and shouldn't be defended. Yeah. Yes, they do need defending. They are being oppressed. They do need help. But what you're doing is not actually help. You being offended over, every single thing, or like simple jokes. That is not the help that they need. But yeah, go ahead.
Oh no. Yeah, I agree.
Good.
So now let's move into the live chat questions. guys, just a reminder that if you want your questions to be prioritized, you can support us on Patreon for as little as $1 a month. Link in the description below. And I also want to talk about how we are doing a fundraiser right now. So, if you guys are familiar with Atheist Republic, we have been the subject of multiple forms of judicial harassment and censorship, partially from just individuals in India, but then also from the Indian government itself, ever since we've been blaspheming against Hindu deities. And in an effort to maintain access to our largest community in Asia, which is our community in India, we've had to retain lawyers to help make sure that all these issues and ways that people are trying to take us out of India isn't effective. So I'm very excited to say that we have almost met 1/3 of our fundraising goal. We're very close to meeting a third, which is awesome. Anything you can contribute is very meaningful to everyone on the Atheist Republic team, and also our massive community in India. So if you are able to contribute, the link is in the description below, and it's titled "Help Us Fight Hindutva" with 2 little swords, if you're looking for the link. I really appreciate
Whoa.
the people who have supported our fight thus far.
We're already at 400 and we haven't even, like, that's amazing. How did we get to 400 all of a sudden?
Well, I've been doing stuff.
That's holy crap. We just started the fundraiser. Guys, look, our goal is only 1,500 and we already got to 400. We need only 1,500 to be able to cover our legal fees. We're getting a lot of support for this. Thank you, guys. That's very okay. So, by the way, we should address this question because this question is about, I know there are more questions before this, but this is relevant to what this fundraiser is about. So we might as well answer it.
Calvin D'Souza is asking, can Indian law affect you in the West? So why worry then? Well, no, Indian law cannot affect us well, it depends on how you look at it. Literally, no, we are not within Indian jurisdiction. It can affect us in the West in the sense that we have a massive community in India, and they are trying to revoke and inhibit as much as they can our access to our community. I believe we're like the largest atheist-centered community in India. Personally, I think it's worthwhile to protect that.
Well, actually, there's one. Let's not say that because I think there are bigger ones as well. But okay. we are the biggest. We are the biggest religious community. Yeah, we are a large one, and we are the biggest in the world. But when it comes to each country, there are alternative bigger ones. I know we're the biggest ones in the biggest atheist community in the Philippines for sure. In India, there are alternatives, but we have a very valuable community in India. And when the attacks came at us, they went after our members inside India. One, second of all, the fact that we can all these legal attacks came at us, and we can fight it from outside of India puts us in a better position to be able to challenge all these legal attacks on us relative to people who are in India, right? Like, because if you want to go after Hindutva from inside India, it's very intimidating and very risky. We want to, they try to scare us and silence us by all these police filings and legal challenges against us within India. And I think we want to set a precedent against these bullyings to, put it on the record where to show how baseless these police reports and police filings against us are, as a way not just to help us, but also maybe contribute to the pushback in the Hindutva bullying, right? And also these police filings and everything has affected us, right? Because it was the government, all these reports and all these legal battles against us that made the government shut down our website and our Facebook page and my personal Facebook account. I don't know how they did that. Inside
So
India,
you can't even message anyone in India. That affects you in the West.
Yeah. So that has like we have had 300,000 members followers on our Facebook page from India, and they were just like that. They were all completely blocked from our Facebook page. And the thing is that our Facebook page didn't get a strike or anything. So Facebook acknowledges that we didn't do anything wrong. So the Facebook page is still standing and accessible in other countries, but it's been blocked from India at the request of the government. So it shows that this is just because of the government didn't want you to see us, not because we did anything wrong, right? Also, they took us, the Atheist Republic, and me personally, all the way. They mentioned in their filings to the Supreme Court of India. Like, guys, this is like the fact that our drawings of Hindu goddesses makes warrants, in their opinion, warrants such a drastic response, so much so that they want to change laws on how social media is censored in India, and they're using us as a way to justify all of that. Again, all of this needs to be challenged, not just for our sake, but for Indian for India's sake. And if you think like, oh, government, you think like this is about all of India, okay, fine. For our Atheist Republic members in India's sake, all of this needs to be challenged. Okay, we don't want this. We don't want the Hindutva, to come after us and do all of this thing and push us out of Twitter and Facebook, and then we just have no response against it. Like, do you want us to just take that? Like, I know, like, it's like a David versus Goliath thing. Like, we're just like me and Susie, and that, me and Susie on our team, and that's like the BJP, which is one of the largest political parties in the world.
No, it is the largest and the most well-funded.
Yeah. So I know, like, I'm not saying like it's going to be an easy fight, but we just want to make sure that we respond. I don't want us to just take all of this just lying back and just accepting it, right? We want there to be a record. I mean, it was Susanna's idea. This is all Susanna's idea. We want there to be a record of a pushback, and also encourage, and also to set a roadmap to test what kind of a pushback works the best. In discussion, hold on, let me talk. In discussion with our lawyers, we're going to figure out what is the best pushback, okay? And also set a roadmap for other people who want to provide a pushback. Like, based on what we learn on what is the best way in challenging all of this, we could start then providing a guide and help to other people that might go through the same thing, and tell them what we learned across the way. But yeah, go on, Susanna.
I have amazing news.
Across what?
Someone just donated $100.
No.
So we just met a third of our goal.
No,
it doesn't show up yet on the public version, but I can tell from the notifications on my end.
So this has turned into almost $500?
Yeah, that's amazing. I'm like, so excited.
Guys, this is so great, because now we could actually pay the next payment that is due to our lawyers, right? Because we need $1,500 for all the legal costs, but the first payment that they needed to move forward is already now payable because of your donation. So thank you, guys. That is so amazing.
That's incredible. And guys, I'm like freaking out right now.
Aww.
So if you're watching, I won't say your name because you're anonymous, but I'm like speechless right now. Thank you so much.
That is very sweet.
Yeah. Woo!
Wow, that's amazing. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, whoever.
I'm like, oh my God. So let's go to the live chat questions. There is a really interesting live chat question that we seem to have gotten at 5:30 in the morning, and it's still showing up here, so I love it. From a name I have no idea how to read. Why are Western atheists not talking about / exposing Hinduism like they do to Christianity, Islam, and Judaism? This is an excellent question. I'm just going to call you Turtle because you have a Ninja Turtle as your icon, a very creepy one. Okay, Turtle. I have suspicions for this. So if you have been listening to what we've been talking about thus far, I think there are some similar attitudes here that prevent quote unquote Western, oftentimes we just mean like white, like white atheists from criticizing Hinduism. I think it's very similar to what the hesitancy towards indigenous practice. Partly it's because of, I think, a guilt or sensitivity towards the cultures that bear these religions because of the knowledge that they have been previously colonized and brutalized from, like my cultural or imperial heritage, right? So, and a desire to not replay some of those historical scripts, right? Of thinking, oh, I'm from a superior culture and I'm going to tell you how to really live. And they acknowledge how that's really been harmful in the past. They don't want to do it again. I think that's part of it. I think another part of it is just the language barrier. There's obviously a massive language barrier in terms of understanding the extremely diverse practice of Hinduism, especially across all the different regions in India and the plurality of languages within the subcontinent itself. That provides multiple layers of language barriers. And then on top of it, it's probably because there isn't a lot of Hinduism in their day-to-day life. It's not something they're exposed to very often. If they are, it's probably in the setting of someone from a minority community in their area. And maybe that's not something they talk about together, probably not how they learn about it. It's just like a lack of exposure for, I think, probably the majority of people. And also not wanting to talk out of turn about something you're not educated about. I think those are probably the main motivating factors. And they don't understand how this actually does really touch people's lives and harm people. I've kind of gleaned these attitudes from some people who seem to think that traditional forms of faith or folk religions and practice aren't as harmful as structured, organized religious practice as we see in the highly structured Catholic Church. I completely disagree, but a lot of people don't have that attitude. What do you think, Armin? Why do you think Western atheists aren't exposing Hinduism?
I think they're justified in not exposing atheism. I mean, their lives are not being influenced by it as much as Christianity,
exposing
for example.
Hinduism.
What did I say?
Exposing atheism.
Oh, Freudian slip.
Hold up, guys. Pause.
Mask. Taqiyya confirmed. Secret Muslim confirmed. The Hindutva were correct. This is guys. The Hindutva they're gonna be like, told you. Anyways, yeah. So I think they're completely justified. Like, why would they? I mean, we are extremely motivated in going after Hinduism. First of all, because we want to come at us. Secondly, because we have a big community in India, and we care about them, right? But if you're not interested in something, and so there's three different factors, right? Interest, knowledge, or impact. Okay, right? Taste, interest, and knowledge. Okay, so if it's just not your taste, if you're not interested in Hinduism, there's no reason why you should talk about Hinduism, right? Maybe you're more passionate about talking about Islam or Christianity or Judaism or whatever, right? Or maybe you would like to talk about Hinduism, you just don't know much about it, and you do not find it. You don't either have the time or don't think it's worth the effort to go and learn about Hinduism, or it's because where you live, you're not affected by it, so you might think like it doesn't. I'm not saying that you have to be affected by it to go criticize it, right? Because somebody might be like, I'm not affected by it, but I'm very interested in Hinduism. Any of these reasons are good enough. But if you don't have any of these reasons, it makes complete sense for you not to go after it, right? It makes complete sense, right? If you don't have any excuse. We have all the excuses, right? But if you don't have it, don't go for it.
And they're also saying, please request all Western atheists to stand up with us in your video. Ask them to read Hindu holy books. It's the worst than any religions that exist in the world. Well, I will ask people to stand with you and become more educated about Hinduism, because I think it is important and it affects so many people.
Yeah, what we do is we suggest it. We don't say you have to. Like there's no like we don't think like this is something that you are obligated to. I know, I'm just adding. Let me just add I'm not saying he didn't say this. I'm just saying my view about it. I'm just saying that I think that yes, we can suggest people, and if they want to accept that invitation, they could do so. But I don't think we have to look down upon people who don't. There's so many things in this world that you could fight for. There's enough harm in this world that you could pick and choose. No, not everybody could fight every single battle. And I do want to say that I don't know if it's true. I don't think it's true that Hinduism is the worst religion in the world. Okay, specifically because I mean the caste system is extremely horrible, and it's very Hindu for sure. It's extremely like it is within the scripture, and like nobody could deny that the caste, all the harm that comes out of the caste system has nobody could justifiably deny the fact that that is not because of Hinduism. However, the influence of Abrahamic religions on the world has been dramatically higher. I mean, India's damage has been to India. Abrahamic religion's harm has been to the whole planet. But yeah, go on.
Well, I remember having a conversation where I convinced you about you changed your mind about the harm that Hinduism has done to humanity, but we can't rehash that whole conversation right now. We need to be quicker.
But what was it? Yeah, okay, fine. Can you remind me later how did we come to that conclusion?
Yeah,
I reject that conclusion right now until I get reminded about it. But yeah, but right, Hinduism very harmful. Islam is the worst religion, but Hinduism is very harmful as well. All of the religions are. But yeah,
quick pause before we move on to the next question.
Whoa.
Palmala just donated $25. This is amazing.
Guys.
You guys are being so kind to us today with these really big donations. Like, I can't.
Thank you, guys.
I appreciate it so much. You will all be getting thank you notes from me later tonight. I also, my StreamYard just jumped, but I did also see Palmala asking what it's like for me to be such a fox. I don't know how to answer that question.
You have to. She just donated, so you might. She or he might. You have to answer.
I don't notice it and think about it most of the time. I don't know.
Yes,
I didn't realize I was hot until a year and a half ago. To like straight up.
How did you figure it out?
Okay, next question.
No. Wait, how did you find out that you're hot? You didn't know you were hot, and then you found out that you're hot. What changed?
I met you. You're like, Susanna, you're attractive, and I'm like, what are you talking about? And you're like, yeah.
All right. Yes, you are very attractive. It's objectively true.
All right. got
What?
here. Palmala is asking the one you make up reasons to exist. No, I think there was a big question that Palmala wanted us to ask. Okay, is this it? Okay. If I hypothetically worshipped Armin's feet, would I be wrong to call them God, though there may be two, but they are attached to the one?
Are you a boy or a girl? I need to figure out before yeah. So if all of these like flirty things in live chat, I need to know how to take them. So
Okay, well let's because you're attracted to women, let's answer this as if it was a woman.
Yes, because the definition of a god is the conscious creator of the universe who has some role in managing part. So for something to be a god, it has to be self-aware. It has to be the creator of all of the universe or part of it, and it also has to have some participation in managing all or parts of it. So there you go.
No, but you're not answering the question. So even though there's 2 feet, but if you worship the 2 feet, even though they are connected to one.
It's not a god. I already answered it. Move on.
Okay.
This is already, yeah.
So we just corrected Palmala's existential crisis there. Jack Knife is asking, in your opinion, what are the best unbiased sources to learn about Islam, the Quran, and Hadiths?
I have
You're going to answer how I'm going to
you.
answer? I think you're going to answer how I'm going to answer.
Does it start with a W?
Yeah, buddy.
Okay, guys, you should. Okay, so I'm actually loading it right now. There's a link in the description to what Susanna is gonna say. So, Susanna, you mention it, but I'll load it so people can see.
So, guys, this is really cool and exciting. We are an affiliate of Wondrium. Wondrium was previously known as the Great Courses Plus, and it's basically like, I almost think of it as like a Netflix of academia. So you get access to these courses that are like full syllabi courses by the best academics in the world across such a wide variety of subjects. And their series, multiple in-depth series about different world religions, has been so informative. So they have really great, amazing series of lectures by Bart Ehrman on early Christianities. Super fascinating. They have an entire series just on the Quran that I have been watching, and I have learned so much, and I'm only like 2 or 3 episodes in. So informative, and it is very scholarly. It's not it's in a secular setting, but it's not with like an atheist activist lens or agenda, where it's like anti-religion. No, it's just like, this is what we know to be the historical facts at this time. Super interesting. There are a lot of like services online in terms of like educational materials where they're trying to kind of bring like science education into an on-demand Netflix model, like Curiosity Stream. The quality, honestly, like Curiosity Stream, none of them compare to Wondrium. So if you're interested in this kind of content, I would really suggest Wondrium, and you can support us and get a discount if you check out our link in the description below.
Yeah. Guys, if you check the link in the description to go to Wondrium, you get actually a free trial. And if you're interested, and this is very unbiased, like I took the introduction to the Quran class on Wondrium, and I thought like introduction to Quran, this is going to be very basic stuff that I already know. Like
I already know this. Come on.
I was prepared to get bored. And my mind was blown about the level of detail and interesting information that I did not know. So look, I went on Wondrium and I searched for it. So guys, make sure you check the link to the description to get to Wondrium. There's so many different courses on so many different things: history, science, religion. It's amazing. So when I search for Islam on Wondrium, right? So you get a course on Islam, you get a course on Islamic Golden Age, you get the history of the Middle East in the 20th century. But again, this whole introduction to the Quran, this was so good. There's also a lot of philosophy courses on here that is so beautiful, right?
Or
On
just stuff on
Christianity and Judaism.
personal
I took it.
finance.
Yeah, I took a course on Hinduism on Wondrium. It was so good. Nothing on YouTube or anything else I've ever seen just comes even close. And guys, these courses are even better than books because certain books have like an agenda and they're trying to convince you of something. These are university professors that are trying to like provide you, an unbiased account from many different perspectives. So, and they're getting, this is like taking a class in a university, but a class in university where the professor is the best they could find. Like this is better than university because in university when you take a class you might get stuck with a bad professor, right? But these classes are, they figured out the best teachers on that specific topic and they're teaching it to you. So check it out. Again, you don't have to pay for these classes because you could try it out for free. Check the link in the description to our Wondrium Wondrium affiliate link, and you could take one of these courses for free, and you could only keep your subscription only if you like. And also, guys, it helps us. Let me be completely transparent with you. Even if you do the free trial and then you stop, I think Wondrium still pays us, even if you don't pay Wondrium anything. So this really helps us. So you could take courses for free, and it still helps Atheist Republic. So check the link in the description. Yeah.
What a plug.
Yeah.
This is a really interesting question from Select. Why concentrate on other religions? I think Islam is the biggest problem. For example, what are Christians going to do if you disagree with them? Forgive you as hard as they can? So I understand the sentiment behind this, but I think you have to think of things in more pragmatic and realistic terms. So part of this has to do with a certain amount of like local relativism. And I'm not a relativist. I just mean that given on your country, whatever the majoritarian religion is in your country is going to cause the bigger problems. Okay. So in America, that is obviously white evangelicism. Obviously. There's so many different polls I could point to about why this is our most pressing religious issue. It's a one-way ratchet that is so harmful to our country right now. This refueling of white Christian evangelical, like this nationalist fervor. I could go on, but I want to hear what Armin has to say.
I think it's more than just religious fervor, like the most religious communities that are Christian. I actually used to think that the greatest religious threat in United States was Christianity, in India was Hinduism, in Israel is Judaism, and in Islamic countries in Islam, right? And so therefore it makes sense for us to attack Christianity, given that the biggest threat in Christian countries is Christianity. Like not as like Islam is such an insignificant harm to United States compared to the harm of Christianity to the United States, right? And I was like, of course we're going to attack Christianity, given that relatively to Islam, So yes, if you focus on a country like Iran or Saudi Arabia or Bangladesh or Egypt, the cost of Islam to these countries are much higher. But that's not true everywhere, right? But now I think you don't even have to even focus on United States or other Christian countries for you to come to the conclusion that the harm of Christianity is high. Because I actually think that even though Islam as a religion is more harmful, the total effect, the aggregate effect of Christianity on the planet as a whole is more, because of their resources that are accessible to the people that their decisions are influenced by Christianity. So even though Islam as a religion is the most harmful one, given its lack of access to power by the people who are influenced by that religion, in effect, it will have a less cost to the planet. What do I mean? Like, again, what I always tell people that the three greatest forces, political forces against our planet are the CCP, the BJP, and the GOP. And none of these three great forces are Islamic. The GOP's effect, the GOP, okay, yeah, the BJP is the largest political party, but the GOP is the most funded one, is the most powerful one, is the most globally influential one, and that is a political force that is making decisions on foreign policy in a way that is affecting the entire planet, and on taking care of the nature and fighting climate change. The decisions that are being made on how significant that battle needs to be is partly influenced by the fact that the supporters of that political party are Christians, and their Christian ideology is having an effect on how they vote and what they pressure the politicians on. And obviously that has an extremely negative effect, not just on Americans, but on everyone on the planet. So the cost of Christianity to this planet is significantly high. It's one of those, like other costs of religions is dramatic and is harming a lot of people, but it's not existential to the way that the GOP's refusal to fight against climate change, or the fact that some of their foreign policy decisions are influenced by the people who want to see the Messiah coming back in Israel. Like that they are driven by that ideology. And the fact that the military force that these people have access to is bigger than all the military force of all the other countries combined, and these people are being influenced by Christianity, and you want to come tell me like, oh, what are Christians going to do? They're going to forgive you, as are like, no, these people are voting partly motivated by bringing absolute chaos to the whole goddamn planet, just because they want to see Jesus back. You don't think that is
Jeebus.
that is do you think that does not warrant some some
concern?
Being concerned? Yeah. Exactly.
Because I'm concerned.
I'm concerned, yes.
I have to skip to this question from Gasian American because it's good. Also, Gasian American, we had a debate earlier in this stream about you / being ex-Buddhist. So please go back, watch that, leave a comment below because we need your opinion on this. Okay. Gasian American's question is, would you rather communist CCP bans or capitalist YouTube demonetization / suppression? I will choose capitalist demonetization / suppression every day of the week, every single day of the week. Yeah. At least there's the opportunity out there to be seen instead of just a flat you're not here anymore.
Yeah, I would be like, oh my God, we've been demonetized on YouTube. Guys, please go support us on Patreon. I'd rather have that concern than being like, oh, guys, I'm in prison, but never mind, you can't hear me because in Chinese prison, I can actually send messages out. So I'm talking to the walls because I'm going insane for the fact that I don't know what's happening to my family. Okay, so yeah, I probably would pick one over another. But these seem to have had a question that we missed. I'm not sure.
You know what happens to our live chat. I can't.
Yeah, D, can you post the question again, sir? Sorry.
Steve is saying Armin is so smart and knowledgeable.
True.
That was very nice.
Thank you.
I'm looking for another question really quickly. I saw a bunch from Sabellatora 2. Okay, here we go.
Post your question again.
Is this too spicy for us to talk about? I think we can talk about this.
Hold on, wait a second. Oh no, we can totally talk about it.
Asking, what do you think of the Dave Chappelle special? Not just the reaction to the special, but the special itself. The special itself, when I didn't start to warm up to it until like at least halfway, if not like 3/4 of the way into the special. Like the majority of the beginning of it, I kind of felt like, I mean, Dave Chappelle was doing what he does, Dave Chappelle, but like it just wasn't hitting in the way that it used to when you watch his old content. I don't know. At the first large portion of it, I was like, this isn't even funny. And then towards the end, he starts to get into, you know, this larger discussion about addressing the transgender community, what he said in the past, how he feels like he's been misrepresented. And then he talks about this really amazing and beautiful story about this transgender comedian that he became close to and friends with, and how that relationship shaped his life. And I thought that this was obviously like the best part of the special. I can see why people are upset. I don't think it's like worth people like walking out of their jobs for. I don't know.
It was really funny. I disagree right away. I mean, it's a personal.
Yeah.
It's a personal tasting. Obviously, you're not saying it was objectively not funny, because I found it. You didn't like. No, but I thought it was really funny, and I actually think it was one of the best pro-trans content I've ever seen in my life. Right? I think it needs to be celebrated as the best. You know, it seemed like a beautiful trap to me. I don't know. I'm not saying it was intended like that, but I think it's basically lures in the people, all the people that might be interested in seeing you know, something edgy, something that is making fun of the cancel culture, and it did do that, and it is affect. You know, I like the fact that it's making fun of cancel culture, and making fun of people who can't take a joke, making fun of people who are very sensorial, and you know, so you know the type of people that are interested in that kind of content. Many of them are not transphobic, but let's be honest, a lot of them are. Okay, a lot of the people who are anti-social justice warrior or anti-cancel culture. I mean, I'm anti-cancel culture and stuff that. I'm not transphobic, but let's be honest. A lot of the people who are constantly talking about cancel culture, they're the biggest, they're the transphobes, right? And these are people who you talk to them about anything trans rights related or humanizing the experience of, I mean, it doesn't need humanization because it is human, but I'm just like convincing them that these are human experiences and these people need sympathy. It just the mere discussion about that makes them think like you're like these far lefty, you know, loon, and they have this such a weird disgust gut reaction to anything trans. And I think what the content does is that it lures in those people, and it ends the entire special with showing them what trans people are dealing with, the level of demonization, and the fact that the best line in the show was when Dave was talking about his trans friend telling him, because a lot of people are like, oh my god, these are so confusing, like, you know, people are switching genders, what is this, I don't understand it, you science, blah blah blah, oh my god, look at all these pronouns, which one do I use, you're all making this confusing. And I think the best line in that entire show was when Dave's trans friend told him that I don't need you to understand, I just need you to believe me that I'm having a human experience, right? That's all you need to know, that this is like, you don't, even if you don't get it, just know that they're suffering, and they're being demonized, and this is not fun, and you need to just sympathize with them, right? Is that too hard to expect from you? Okay, so I think it got a lot of people that wouldn't have heard a message like that listening to that, because it was obviously brought a lot of people like that in. I also wanted to think it was a great defense of trans people, in a way that a lot of people just assume that if somebody is trans, they must be this far lefty, sensitive, snowflakely person. And they've kind of made it clear that no, there are many trans people that are capable of laughing at these jokes. So I think it was a defense, because a lot of right-leaning people just assume that you must be one of those social justice warrior people if you are trans, right? But no, many trans people, not only they do not have any issues with these jokes, they want these jokes because they themselves find it funny. So in that way, it was also a defense of trans people. If I have any criticism of the show, is that Dave doesn't seem to understand the difference between sex and gender. Which is
that was a huge problem.
Such a weird thing for people to still not understand. Like, from all the issues, for all the concepts that people could understand about trans stuff, you would think that is the most simple one to get. Okay, be like, and I think so. He seems to not understand that. It's amazing that somebody that has been having conversations about this for such a long time is still confused about the difference between sex and gender. So that would be my criticism of it. I also think people don't understand when you say something is a social construct, it doesn't mean that it does not exist. People are like, gender is real. Like, bitch, calling something a social construct doesn't make it not real. Contracts are social contracts. Contracts are real. Countries are social constructs, not social contracts, social constructs, right? Language is a social construct. Language is real. Your nation is a social construct. If I say the United States is a social construct, it doesn't mean that the United States does not exist. So what is this response to people saying gender is real? Yes, it's real, bitch. It's real, and it's a social construct at the same time. These two statements are not contradictory. Okay, so that's my criticism. But overall, it was funny. It was great. It was very heartfelt, and I enjoyed it. Yeah.
So the way that we would talk, to your point, to help people understand this, what Armin is getting at, when we talk about in critical studies, which I did in university, is gender or its presentations is a social construct, but it is real in its consequences. So I hope that helps people understand what we're getting at here. It's just because it was quote unquote made up, that does not mean that this thing that was made up does not have real impact and consequences in someone's life.
Made up, something we made up doesn't mean not real. Our standards. Yeah.
I
wasn't denying. I wasn't trying to say you're wrong. Okay.
I know.
Okay. I'm just yeah, because I think made up. Yeah, I just hear made up, and I think people are saying that it means that it's not real. Okay.
So
again, go.
How would you respond to someone who is like, Armin, how dare you call this a pro-trans special? Dave Chappelle said that he's a TERF, that he is strongly with the TERFs because he thinks gender is real. How dare you, sir, characterize this as pro-trans?
Well, because I think Dave doesn't understand the difference between sex and gender.
Yeah.
Right. And I think the TERF community confuses that on purpose, sometimes because they're ignorant, but sometimes on purpose. They use that interchangeably. Okay. And also, okay, so first of all, when they're saying gender is real and you ask them what do they mean by gender is real, you realize very fast that they're actually talking about sex, not gender. But even if they want to talk about gender, I agree that gender is real. gender is made up, gender is a social construct, and gender is real, and these are not mutually exclusive. But they're not even ready to have the discussion. They're not even at the level of saying gender is a social construct and it's real, because what they're talking about is not even gender. Okay, so I think like just because somebody, okay, so I can criticize somebody for being ignorant about a topic. That doesn't mean they're anti-trans. That just means they're ignorant, okay, or they're wrong, okay. So yes, I would say that Dave Chappelle was wrong about his defense of turf arguments. He's wrong about that. That doesn't make him anti-trans. That just makes him wrong. Okay, this is another problem that a lot of people have in the leftist community. They think wrong opinions means that you're anti-gay or anti-trans or anti-minority groups. They're just incorrect. It's in I mean, I get frustrated with people being incorrect about something, especially when the information is so easily available, and it's okay for you to be frustrated. You're justified in being frustrated about it, but you can be frustrated about it without accusing them of being transphobic, because they're just wrong. They're not transphobic. Some people are just wrong. Some people are actually transphobic. Some people are just wrong. They're not the same thing.
True. Okay, Mr. Navabi, you defended your case. D is asking, what do you make of the Sikh mob killing? Are there now 3 religions terrorizing India, or do you think this is an anomaly? So for those who are not familiar, within this past week, there was a Sikh man who I believe was a Dalit, who was lynched by a mob and beheaded, and his hand and foot chopped off, and then his body was like strung up because he, from what I've read so far, maybe there are more details now, mishandled a holy book. There are by running with it or something. There was some way in which he mishandled it and disrespected it, and he was murdered because of this. Supposedly by upper caste men within the same religious community, but I would need to double check the details. So we are going to cover the story in full on the news this week. So that's in 2 more days. Make sure to tune in, same time on Saturday. And so we'll be talking more about this in depth then. Do I think there are now 3 religions terrorizing India, or is this anomaly? So my understanding is that this is not super common. There is blasphemy motivated violence in the Sikh community in India and in the diaspora abroad, but it's not very frequent. And I don't know if that is simply a function of the community itself being smaller, right? Or because it's a small religious community globally, we maybe don't hear about these incidents as much when they do happen. Do I think this is terrorists in India? I don't believe so.
I don't
I
think
feel like it would
crime...
just be more harmful to the people with it's intra-community violence. It's a community on itself. It's not, in this instance, not going outwards. So
guys, yeah,
I think it's mostly like maybe the people within that community itself feel terrorized. I don't know.
Okay, so it's hard to say this without making this crime seem... I don't want to make it seem like this crime was insignificant. Obviously, this crime is extremely significant, right? And it's, again, I don't know how to say this without people taking it wrong, in the wrong way. Okay, I'm not trying to make light of how bad this crime was, but with a country of 1 billion people, referring to this crime and describing it as terrorizing India, I think that's a stretch. What do you think? Is that a fair way to say it?
Yeah.
Like terrorizing India would be a far... I don't know. I think. Oh, and also liberal Hindu is saying not upper caste men. People arrested are Dalit Sikh, but controlled by upper caste Sikh jets. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. Well, like I said, we'll be covering the full details on Saturday when I've had the opportunity to read all the latest updates on this story.
Yes, guys. Again, Susanna spends so much time. Again, even if we get it wrong, you have no idea. Like, we do better than most people because of the time that Susanna puts into trying to figure out the details. And sometimes, guys, Susanna spends so much time in reading everything about it, and then the clip comes out, and people in the comment section are criticizing Susanna about not seeing something that came after we had recorded that video. Okay, you have no idea how much effort Susanna puts into trying to make sure
I
that
don't
we
care
get these
about
things
that.
right. No, I know you don't care about the credit, but I just want to.
But I care.
It pisses me off, yeah, because yes, yeah, you guys need to be very grateful, and all of this is being done for you for free, unless you're a patron. Then thank you.
Hey, and you can become a patron and not be a freeloader. No, I'm just kidding. By supporting our Patreon, link in the description below. We have an answer from Gasian American on our ex-Buddhist debate. And, sir, I think it comes in my favor. Gasian American is saying, yes, I'm technically an ex-Buddhist. Yes, it's an Abrahamic thing. I prayed to Buddha and applied his teachings. Was I ever a Buddhist monk? The answer is no.
Okay, well, no, that also confirms my answer as well. That calling somebody an ex-Buddhist is coming from an Abrahamic mindset. Well, technically, not all Abrahamic, Christian and Islamic mindset. Okay, so there you go. A Gasian American is an ex-Buddhist because he's an American, not because he's Chinese. Like that is coming. That framework of me being an ex-Buddhist coming from his American mindset, not from his Asian. So see, he's an Asian. He's gay.
The basis of you takfiring him and saying that he was an ex-Buddhist.
I didn't interrupt you. I didn't interrupt you. Okay. He has three identities, and all of his identities are in his usernames. Okay. These are the things that he goes by. He's gay. He's Asian. He's American. Okay. So I'm saying the reason why Gasian American, identify himself as an ex-Buddhist comes from his American identity mindset more than his Asian mindset. I mean, you know what I mean?
So yes, but the basis of you takfiring him as an ex-Buddhist originally was because you said, well, he wasn't an ex-Buddhist because he was also a Taoist and a Confucianist. So he can't be an ex-Buddhist because he was also these other things. And I was saying,
right,
in that cultural practice, those things aren't exclusive or invalidating of the other. So yes, you can be all those other things and an ex-Buddhist.
Yes, daylight
honestly,
is complimenting
that's a good username. It is an amazing username. Oh, Gasian American is adding, I feel the need to assert that gentrifiers would insist Buddhism is an atheist philosophy, but that was never my experience. Buddha and his court were like Jesus and his angels. And he also said previously, does it count that I once thought he was a divine being, but now he's just a dead guy who made some valid points? So saying that, yeah, I think that there is an effort, and historically, actually, since the Occident met the Orient, of trying to characterize Buddhism as a philosophy intentionally instead of a religion, because they were coming from it from a Protestant mindset. But yeah, it's definitely a religion.
Yeah, I mean, originally calling things religion itself was a Western thing to do anyways, but now that we have a definition for things that is more universally accepted, Buddhism is a religion. But originally, even classifying anything as a religion came from not just an Abrahamic mindset, but a Christian mindset. But anyways, we have talked about this for a while, so let's move on.
Jim Waxer saying, any chance you will have Alice Gretchen back on? I'd love to hear her continue the conversation with Susanna and hear her talk about medicines that make people feel like spiritual feelings. So if those of you aren't familiar, a few months ago, I talked to Alice Gretchen, who is an author and an actress, and she wrote the book, wait for it, whoop, Wayward. It's a very good book. It's about like growing up Christian and sexual purity and the effect it has on young women. And we had a really great conversation about our experiences growing up as Christian women and how we recovered from the sex shame that we were indoctrinated into. Very heartfelt. So I recommend you guys go checking out that conversation. I would love to continue to talk to her. I could have talked to her for hours about her experiences. And she also has an interest in, she talks about it in the book. I think it's called like neurotheology or something, but there's actually a field of study about how our brains react in religious settings and like what actually gives rise to spiritual experiences. Then she's done some reading into that, and I think that's really interesting. I would love to talk to her about that, but I need to become a little bit more knowledgeable myself. Do you have any other questions ready? Because I'm looking for some live chat right now.
I think we should move on because we've been already. I just want to show people one of the latest arts that we have.
Oh yes, we can do that.
Okay, so unhighlight the question that you highlighted so I can do this.
Oh, and I also want to say hi to Binary Skeptic. Just a special shout out.
Oh, hi. Okay.
Awesome person.
All right. So guys, if you go to blasphemousart.com, you get to see some of the latest art that we have had. And this is the latest art, one of the latest arts that we have had. And it has been received with a lot of people have enjoyed this one. Okay. So, and if you want to see the uncensored version of it, you could go to blasphemousart.com and get a link in the description, and you could click on the view uncensored version. The uncensored version is like worth watching, so go check it out. But Susanna, do you want to explain what this is and what are we looking at?
Well, we give our artist basically like prompts of what we want to see, and then oftentimes she surprises us with stuff. So this time she surprised us with a hijabi with dominating the Prophet Muhammad. So I came up with the title Muhammad's Dog Walker. It's just the first thing I thought of. What was the caption? Oh yeah, there are so many accusations about Islam oppressing women, yet here you can see the Prophet Muhammad contradicting that narrative and demonstrating that the rightful position of women in Islam is above men. So I just thought that was humorous. I really, when we do these arts, I love kind of reversing expectations. There's so much fun that you can do with art when you just flip roles around and new ways to think about things. Yeah. I have a lot of fun doing these.
So go find this link to this art, and then if any time somebody says that Islam is anti-woman, just tell them that that's not true, and send them the link to this and see, like, look, it's Islam is empower. Say this is a form of Islam empowering women. Islam empowers women, and here's proof. Okay,
don't go to a scholar and you know what scriptural basis.
We have visual.
Go to this.
We have visual proof. Yes. Okay. And again, guys, link to all of our art, including link to the uncensored version of all this art, is in the description. So check it out. All right.
Yeah, and if you guys want to see our latest blasphemous art, you can get the uncensored version on our Patreon, or if you if you subscribe to our newsletter, link to our newsletter is in the description, then you get the sexy, safe for work, but it's still a very sexy version sent directly to your inbox every week, at a minimum every week. So definitely check out our newsletter, because no matter who tries to censor us, take us down, we can always reach you there.
Yes. And also, if you want to make sure that your questions get answered, because I saw some questions that unfortunately we have to move on today. But if you're a patron, then we always start with the patron questions, and we make sure that all of the patron questions get answered. So if you want to make sure that your questions don't get missed, and also if you can't join us live, and you want to make sure that even if you're not live here with us, we still do read your questions and answer them. Consider becoming a patron. Again, link in the description. And also, thank you to everybody who supported our anti-Hindutva, defending ourselves against Hindutva legal challenges fund. That also is in the description. And also, yeah, subscribe to our newsletter. That is free, and you get this some version of our art in the newsletter for free as well. So check that out as well. All right. Thank you guys. Oh yeah, and thank you for Music Guy for providing a link to our Patreon. That's where you get the uncensored version of our art as well. All right, guys.
And don't forget to
talk
like
you
the
later.
stream.
Yes, like everybody. Do it now before. Don't leave until you like. It takes half a second. Don't leave. Do it now. All right, bye.
Bye.